and welcome to our webinar. My name is Mohammed Ali Al-Kuku, and I will be the moderator in this webinar. Today, we are pleased to host Ms. Carmen Johns, and I also want to thank all of you who are attending this webinar. Our panelist, Carmen, is a very distinguished guest, and we are pleased to have her today with us. For those of you who have not read about her, Carmen is a former journalist and was former political affairs officer at the United Nations for 15 years. She has worked in radio broadcasting in Santiago, Chile, often covering human rights violations during the Pinochet regime, and various newspaper and other publications, as well as freelancer for the BBC World Service, the French news agency AFP in Santiago and Lera in Paris, and contribute to the Lawyer Committee for Human Rights in New York. Now, she is part of Human Rights Watch. In 1979, she won the United Nations Correspondents Association Fellowship and the British Council Scholarship, earning a master's degree in 1990. Ms. Jones was born in New York of Chilean parents and has lived in the United Nations, Geneva, Santiago, UK and Western Sahara, including Tindouf, Algeria, as political officer at MINURSO. She retired in 2016 and lives now in New York. Our webinar topic today is Western Sahara is not Morocco, what is it about and why it matters. Our panelists will be speaking about it through a very unique PowerPoint presentation loaded with info and picture. She has a first-hand experience in what she is about to reveal and explain, as she is a former MINURSO staff and journalist who pay attention to all small detail with an observing eye. Her analysis will be a key asset to understanding the Western Sahara conflict and why an eye-opening as why it matters. Without getting into more detail, please let me give the floor to Ms. Carmen for a small introduction. Then she will proceed to talk about Western Sahara and give her presentation. If any of you have any question, please write in the chat room, or you could ask permission to request the microphone. Thank you. The floor is yours, Ms. Carmen.
Okay, I am not seeing myself, but it doesn't matter. Yes, my name is Carmen Johns. 21 years, in fact, in the United Nations. Oh, we went straight to my PowerPoint. Okay, can you put full screen on it, please? Full screen on the PowerPoint? I was going to say my introduction was very long, and yes, I retired from the UN. I've worked for it, as I said, for 21 years. And as soon as we get my PowerPoint on the screen, we can start. My aim here is to really introduce the topic, Western Sahara. Why haven't you even heard of this? Well, in fact, of the whole land. This is a land that is the size of New Zealand. And I think 90% of people have never heard about it. How is this possible? It's by far the only, in fact, colonial problem that has not been resolved. Click, please. What is Morocco there? Why haven't you heard about it? Why the million landmines? What is disputed about the territory? Western Sahara is not Morocco, and the reason I say that is because Morocco is occupying this land for decades, and its presence is a military occupation and completely illegal. Okay, so this will be the topic I'm making. Why? Because when Spain left the colony, its colony, yes, thank you, it could have continued to follow the UN procedure for a peaceful transition from colony to independence if it so wished. And in this case, the option for independence is a very strong desire. We have seen that of the people of Western Sahara. And instead of this by the rules textbook transition from colonization to self-determination, which means they decide for themselves what they want to be, to a referendum where they vote. Do you want independence or do you want to be Spanish in this case? Western Sahara was a Spanish colony. They actually can decide that by voting, and then they proceed. It would have been a very happy ending, so to speak. And what happened? Morocco invaded. Click, please. What I want to show a few slides, a few photographs. Why? Because people think a desert, oh, it's just sand. It's flat, there's no one there. There's no one there. There's nothing there. That is absolutely not true. A desert, a land, anyone, has its own people. They have lived there for generations. It's their ancestral land. It is not empty. There is no place on earth which is really empty. There is someone there. And I chose this photograph because a desert, in fact, you are in a desert like where this photo is showing, Western Sahara, of course. Not only you can see all the way around the whole horizon, but you look at the skies, and I like to describe them as planetary skies. They are huge. And you can imagine what the stars are like when you see on such big skies with no artificial light anywhere. Click. Click, please. These are some just vistas. This is a very unique place called Les Jouades. It is very flat, as you can see, but these huge granite mountains sort of come out of the blue. It is very, very impressive. Click the next one. Another one. This is a typical flat top. Erosion there, sediment going straight down to not exactly sand dunes, but sand and rock, which is most of the Sahara. By the way, the Sahara Desert, people think, oh, it's just sand dunes. It is not, as you can see. And I believe that only 20% of the Sahara Desert is the typical sand dunes. It has all sorts of features, geographical features. Click. Next, please. As you can see, this is yet another vista, completely different from the other one. But again, the flat tops. Next. Why is this different? It's on the Atlantic coast. You saw by the map that Western Sahara, the land is on the Atlantic coast, south of Morocco, north of Mauritania. So this is on the Atlantic coast. It's an absolutely beautiful area. It's a small peninsula where is the city of Dakhla, and this is the Bay of Dakhla. Beautiful dunes. The one on the left is called the White Dune. It is so, and the cliffs on the other side. However, it is occupied by Morocco. They are exploiting it to the point that there is a French restaurant somewhere around here. So French, in fact, that they own a fancy French restaurant, that they only want payment in euros. I mean, what is this? It's a new colonialism or something. So there you are, Morocco, occupied by Morocco illegally. Next, please. Just to mention, this is not very close, but again, the Atlantic coast. It can be very pretty, though, in fact, this one, please note, I was more in MINURSO for more than 10 years, so I know the place. This was a very nice place, beautiful little beach, until the Moroccans decided they needed a military post there. So it's off limits. Next. Here's the map again. I would like to, first on the left, you can see its position on the African continent. You can see the very large, very long coastline. And you can see Morocco north, Mauritania south. Just to the east, a tiny little border with Algeria. And please note there is a very long red line going from southwest to northeast. What is that red line? It is the Moroccan first line of defense. They built this wall during the war because, yes, there was a war with the representatives of the people of Western Sahara and the Moroccan army itself. They were able to capture the land on the left, and they built this wall to keep the rest of the native population out. If you go to the internet and you look up the walls of the world, of course you will see the wall of China, but you will also know of this one. You maybe won't see it, but you will know it exists because it's very long. Now, it's not a wall like the walls of your home. No, it is rock and sand. Now, the thing is, you can go with a vehicle through there. I mean, you've got 2-3 meters of sand to go through, right? And you could walk over it, yes, scramble up like that. However, there's maybe 1 million landmines on it to prevent any and all of that. Neither vehicles, neither people. They have some openings there, but they're not even gates, they're openings. And the whole wall is heavily manned by Moroccan armed forces, because as I said, they're first line of defense. Next, please. Yes, I had that little map up there. Click again, once more. Okay, let's hold on a bit. So it's roughly the same map. You can see the wall. I placed the Moroccan map of the area there. Why? Because you can see immediately that the top part of that map in red, the red map with green star, is the Moroccan flag. The top part is Morocco as such, as legally such, whereas they do all of Western Sahara. So they gain in size. I mean, I'd say double in size. I mean, why do they want Western Sahara? It's a desert. No, it's not a desert. It's the home of the people of Western Sahara. It makes it, if they annex it, they double in size. They get all the resources. And of course, they get to be an important part of that part of Maghreb, which is the north bit of the African continent, which is Arabic. On the other side of the screen, to the right, you have the flag of the representative of the people of Western Sahara. That would be the Frente Polisario. And I mention it because the UN has recognized it as the legitimate representative of the people of Western Sahara. So when we get to the UN peace process, there are only two parties, Morocco and Polisario. Okay, click please. Try to remember that. This is the wall. I got this off the internet. Okay, I can even tell you which website I got it off. That is the wall. That big long red line, that's the wall. Click please. Well, so where are the people? Well, yes, there's plenty of people, but I happen to like this particular photograph. Gentleman there is actually, I took all these pictures. He's actually looking for a lost camel. Yes, sir, that's what he's doing. And they no longer ride camels. That is a Land Rover of the Spanish kind. Why do they prefer them? Well, they can go anywhere, and I'm told you can repair it with, I don't know, a screwdriver and a piece of string. Probably not true, but it gives you some idea of how flexible they are. Click, please. So, people of Western Sahara, my friend here, Sid Ahmed, a group of us drove into the desert. We were in Laayoune because MINURSO's headquarters was in Laayoune. I was part of MINURSO for over 10 years, as I've said. And we drove in because this gentleman was there with his brother, and he immediately offered us some tea, which we were glad to accept. But I have a few more images of the people of Western Sahara. And one more slide. Can you click, please, once? Okay, let's start by the bottom left hand. There's my friend Sid Ahmed making the tea. Two young gentlemen there, they're deciding where to go. They're not lost. They're just deciding which way to go for their next, for the next trip. Obviously, they came in Land Rovers. So do we go this side of the dune or the other side, etc. The gentleman, the young man on the right-hand side corner, he is actually the first one who is in a light blue t-shirt. If you look closely, you will see that he is smiling. He is the son of another friend of mine. Next to that, a small house they have in the desert as such, when they don't have a tent, of course. You can see the shoes there, because they leave the shoes off when they enter. The gentleman on camel, he's about to participate in a camel race. All on the right side, they're in Tindouf, where the refugee camps are. Why are the refugee camps there? Because when Morocco invaded, it was very violent, and half the population of Western Sahara escaped. They had to, escaping Moroccan soldiers plundering the city, occupying everything with violence, as an occupying force does. So first one, a lady there in the refugee camps. You can't see her face. Next to that, a lady in Tindouf, she's making tea at a house, not a tent. 2 children there. And the bottom one is a child's drawing of the camps, but showing only the tents, not these little houses they make of brick and zinc. Next, please. Oh, yes. And the native inhabitants are called the Sahrawis. Next, please. And this is my final image of the people of Western Sahara. This actually is a program done by the UN Refugee Agency. They actually were able to take Western Sahrawis, from the Moroccan occupied part, from Laayoune, the capital of Western Sahara, over to the refugee camps. Why? Because when people flee a war, they leave everything behind, and sometimes they leave family members behind. So the lady here in a white melfa, that's what they're called, white and black, she is embracing her father, and next to her in black is her mother. They had not seen each other since the war. That is a very long time. And the whole, they're obviously very happy that she's been able to come over. I like the young chap in the back who is, flagging around with his turban, the black turban. So I think this is a really nice photograph used by an ex-colleague. Next. This I'm using as a backdrop, but in fact is a huge, huge canyon that goes from, let me see, from west to east. And it's blurry because there was so much wind blowing that the sand you can see on the bottom is flowing into the canyon. Its name is Sagi al-Hamra, which just means red canyon, because on a clear day it is reddish. Click once. Here is a key UN concept, and I promise it's the only concept: self-determination. This is actually a principle behind democracy, which means the people can decide what government they want, or in the case of colonies, what they want to be, as part of the colonial power, or as part of, as part, in this case of Spain, this was a Spanish colony, Western Sahara was Spanish, or independent. Now, this is a landmark resolution. Now, self-determination, let's get this clear, is a principle of international law, and it is in the UN Charter. It's crucial, 1960. You can see the name there, that it is called Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples. Why? Because they thought of the colonies. 1960, there were a lot of colonies back then. And they said there must be a way where we can facilitate colonial powers to transfer authority back to the people, and they can thus decide through a referendum what they want to be: part of the colonial power, in this case Spain, or independent. This was crucial. Why? Again, because this resolution of the General Assembly made it into a right. Click again, please. Exactly. It linked it to, it says all peoples. So it's not just Western democracies, it is the colonies, and it made it into a right. And I'm not sure if I have more text here. Click. Yes, exactly. So what this means is that it means the people of Western Sahara, colony of Spain, have the right to vote in a referendum on whether they want independence. This is what this is about, and the concept of self-determination is crucial. Next. This I will go through fairly quickly. So Spain joined the UN 1955, and the UN said, okay, you've got colonies. We want you to report on the welfare of the people of those colonies. And Spain said, okay. And then they said, well, colonies have to have a right to be independent. Self-determination. And Spain tried to say, no, Western Sahara is integral part of Spain. Well, not really. It was a colony, Spanish Sahara. But eventually, Spain said yes, and started the process, the UN process of decolonization. However, then Morocco, the neighbor to the north of this land, said, no, Western Sahara is ours. So by that they say they claim sovereignty over the territory. Now, Mauritania said that, but they eventually withdrew. So I just mentioned them here. And as I said, Spain was preparing for the referendum. But what happens then? Morocco says, no, this has nothing to do with Spain, in fact. That's what they were saying. So let's ask the International Court of Justice, who does this land belong to? The International Court of Justice took 10 months to reply and click. Basically, it said on top, we're now in October 1975, okay, 20 years after Spain joined. The International Court of Justice says neither Morocco nor Mauritania can say it's theirs. Neither of them have sovereignty over Western Sahara, the Spanish colony known as Spanish Sahara at the time, which means Western Sahara, the people can vote for independence, if they choose that, of course, meaning the referendum that Spain was preparing can go ahead. Yes. We're back to my slide, background slide. Please click. 1, 2, 3, hold it. Whoa, hold it, please, right there. So we just saw 16 October 1975, and I call this the 30 days where everything changed and decided the fate of Western Sahara up to today. So the International Court said, it's not Moroccan, it's not Mauritanian. What happens then? Morocco, the king, Hassan II, the predecessor of the present king, he launches an event, and it's just an event, a farce really, what he calls the Green March, and gets thousands and thousands of people to the southern border. And he says, this is historic. Moroccans will reclaim their land. Okay? It has never been Morocco. Western Sahara has never been Moroccan. Now it is occupied by Morocco. That is it. That's it. And he called it a green march. What is green? Green is the color of Islam. And sorry, I should not be talking about a religion, any religion, which I know nothing about, except that green is the color. So he made it into a patriotic, historical thing, and it's neither, okay? So 1 week after that, yes, Spain actually says, okay, you can have it. And they signed an agreement or an accord, the Madrid Accords, giving away their colony practically to the neighbors, Morocco on the north, Mauritania to the south. And this was supposed to last 3 months, but of course it didn't. Let me see. So those are the 60 days that changed everything, okay? And on 26 February, which means 3 months later exactly, Spain left the territory altogether, to the point that they dug up the cemetery, their cemetery in this colony, and they took their dead back to Spain. And they lowered the Spanish flag, and Morocco and Mauritania invaded. Yes, they divided the land, but as I said, Mauritania withdrew very soon. So Morocco said, all of it is ours. So let's go back in the sense that Spain left on 26 February 1976. Yes? Click. 1 day later, perhaps you can make the screen larger. What it says there is that the Frente Polisario, representative recognized by the UN, representative of the people of Western Sahara, proclaimed the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. Apart from Spain, because Spain was no longer there, it abandoned its colony. Sahrawi Republic is recognized by many countries of Africa, the African Union for starters, and many other countries. But the basic thing here is that Spain left 26th of February, and Polisario immediately moved to say there's no void here. It belongs to the people. The land belongs to the people. So let me go back again further. Spain left. What is this? A colonial power does not abandon a colony. Spain not only left, I mean, it had been acted perfectly up to then, but pressure from Morocco, probably, surely from the United States, France, surely. Spain leaves, abandons the thing, and gives away the people as well, you know. You do not give a land, a colony, to the neighbors, people included. Why? Because it doesn't work. Click again here. What happens? War begins. Obviously, you don't do that to people. Next, please. And yes, there was the regular Moroccan army and people from the Polisario. Because, well, it was a very unequal war. Morocco is a state, regular army, but you need a desert people to fight in the sand. Believe me, I mean, Polisario could run circles around the Moroccan army as they were advancing. No idea where they were going. They needed guides for that. The war lasted 16 years and Morocco did not win, nor did Polisario, but they advanced enough, and that is when they built the wall. The red line on the map, that is the wall. So, as I said, next, please. The war lasted 16 years. It was not a high-intensity war. It was a low-intensity war. But then 16 years later, both the UN, the United Nations, and the Organization of African Unity, this is all Africa, right? They brokered a peace agreement. And both parties, Morocco and the Frente Polisario, agreed first to a ceasefire. Sorry about the typo there. A ceasefire, you stop the fighting. You stop just the fighting. It's not peace, it's not war, but it's not peace. They agreed both to a referendum on self-determination, so the Sahrawis can decide whether they want independence or not, basically. But years later, okay, not yet. This, by the way, is our planes that, when I was in MINURSO, the UN planes that MINURSO used, okay? Morocco, years later, said, no, we don't want a referendum. Morocco went back on its own promises. And Polisario, of course, said, no, we have the right to vote, and our people want to vote, to say we want independence. Click, please. This is the mandate of MINURSO. Whether MINURSO did its mandate, no, it did not. But that was its mandate. It is the mission for the referendum in Western Sahara, and its mandate was to hold the referendum for the self-determination of the people of Western Sahara. Click, please. Can we make a big screen there? I mean, this is getting difficult. Oh, by the way, click just once. Okay, stop for a bit. This is the city of Laayoune, and I'm looking at the positions of both parties. In this case, it's Morocco. The three people you see there, top left, the King of Morocco, the son of Hassan II, Mohammed VI. He is head of state. Okay, there he is as head of state. The billboard in the photograph of the city of Laayoune, he is in military uniform. Why? Because he's the head of the armed forces. And next to them, between the two photographs, Mohammed VI is also the religious leader of Morocco. And I don't have a photograph for that, Mohammed VI is also the biggest businessman of Morocco. Now, why do I say all this? What's the relevance here? Well, Morocco, after saying we will take part in a referendum of self-determination, they said, no, we don't want the referendum, we want autonomy. We will offer, yes, an autonomy. How on earth can you have an autonomy, an autonomous province, when one person, the king, concentrates all that power? None of the Moroccan provinces are anywhere near autonomy. Western Sahara would become just another province. And on the other side, I think, yes, you will see again the flag of Morocco, the map of Morocco as it wants to be, including all of Western Sahara, including the bit that is in the hands of Polisario. And this, click please, the poster, the billboard you see there, yes, that's it. Morocco has mounted this campaign, accusing Polisario and the people of Western Sahara, whom they represent, of terrorism, of drug exporting country, of liars, of this and this and that, of criminals, of war criminals. This one is the best one. They say that all the people in the refugee camps, the ones who fled the war, they're Moroccans and they were kidnapped by the people of Western Sahara. I mean, seriously, every single thing that they can say against the people of Western Sahara, they say it. Why? Because they want to keep this big land with its resources, with the size you saw, they double in size practically, with its resources. Morocco doesn't have resources practically, except for tourism. That's it. So it's a win-win situation for Morocco. They don't lose anything, except one thing, their reputation. Now we come back to the question, why is this whole huge colony been kept secret all these years, all these decades? Because they don't want it known that what they're doing there is completely illegal. They invaded a country. They did not invade it nicely. There was rape, there was plunder, there was violence, there were refugees who left because of the war. They have exploited it fully, and they keep on exploiting it, and they've sort of incorporated this, they call them the southern provinces. This slide is of the city of Laayoune, not the nice beige buildings you saw before. This is where most, if not all, the Sahrawi population lives. These are not nice buildings. There is poverty. And if you have a look there, the graffiti is, they show these rectangles. That's the Sahrawi flag that you saw on the Polisario map. Why do they have black ink on them? Because the Moroccan police goes around all the time and throws black ink on the graffiti. Next, please. Here are a few, let me see, on the right, you can see more graffiti. Upper right, there's a flag, which does not have black ink on it. There's a door there. There's graffiti at the bottom. It actually says Rast, which is Spanish for the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. Let me see down. You can see 2 Moroccan police and the door is open. This is very, very recent. The repression has multiplied. They are actually in front of the door of a young woman, Sahrawi activist, meaning she wants independence. They actually were so violent towards her, she lost an eye, okay? But she hasn't given up, and they are just checking her house. They are there all the time. Those 3 actually, they are just, it's pressure and it's the threat of violence. Now, first, let me go to the upper left-hand side. Morocco always says, we've given development to these people. We've built roads, we've built buildings, electrical networks, etc. Well, not quite, because that is a dump seen from the inside of a vehicle that used by the Sahrawi people. It is where they put all the garbage of the city of Laayoune. There's no road there, but it's just dumped there. So what development are we talking about? No garbage disposal. They just dump it there. And that's the part that tourists never see. They don't get tourists, but that's reality. And now I'm going to focus on the other photograph. Next, please. Well, I took this photograph. It was a big event, rebellion. Please note, I was living here on the 3rd floor. I took it from my windows. The very modest house you see there in beige with a blue door there, a house of Sahrawis. Never mind the blue door, those are the little hairdressers. The 2 young thugs there, because that's what they are, they have these long metal poles there. They are trying to break down the door. It's not going to succeed because the door is made in metal. But please look then now, the two people in white helmets and uniform. Those are Moroccan police. They are not only not intervening in this criminal act, this burglary, this violent act, one of them in the middle has a stone in his hand, meaning the police participate in acts of violence against the Sahrawi people. We had heard from the people that the police did this and just went into the houses and stole televisions, blankets, whatever. This proves that it's true. They did not steal anything of anything important. Why? Because they went in finally to the little square window. They could just pull the bars out. One of these guys went in and stole a blanket and a tray for tea. What is this? It's the poor stealing from the poor. I mean, come on. So there you are. That is what the Moroccan police does in the land. It's called its southern provinces, which is Western Sahara. Please go ahead. The parties. This is the Frente Polisario. Let me see. On the upper left-hand corner, you will see. Remember when this came about in 1976? They proclaimed, Spain left, and Polisario proclaimed the Sahrawi Republic. At the time, the 70s, the murals were all like this. So of course they have a mural here. On the left, the bearded gentleman, a leader of the Polisario for many, many years. You can barely see them in the middle, the young man who founded the movement. Frankly, it was very young people who founded this movement and well educated. They had studied in universities, Moroccan universities, but they remained Sahrawis. He was the founder. He died during the war. Okay. And just below that, the gentleman in the white mustache, that is the leader of Western Sahara, Brahim Ghali, after the death of Mohammed Abdelaziz. Below that, again, another photograph of the graffiti in Layun. In the middle, the text. This is the Polisario position. The people of Western Sahara must vote to exercise their right to self-determination, to the referendum, including the option of independence. Okay, that was what MINURSO was supposed to do. It was not able to. And there is the flag of Polisario, the one that is drawn on the walls of the house there. And my friend again in his white turban, the young man, son of a family who's a friend of mine. Next. One of the refugee camps. As we said, thousands, hundred thousands left the territory when Morocco invaded so violently. Because of the war, they left, and mind you, they walked to Algeria, okay? They walked. It's quite a distance. If you remember the map, I'll probably show it to you again. Children there, you already saw that photograph. Click again, please, once. And that is a big tent. They're normally like the two tents you see here. Those are family tents, okay? The one up there is a bigger tent, just to receive visitors, but they are tents, and the tiny little buildings, because they are, well, they protect better against the elements. So refugee camps, and they are in Algeria. Why? Because people went to Algeria. Why did Algeria open the border? Because before all this thing happened, you know, the month that I spoke about, Algeria recognized the Polisario as also representative of the people, and they approved of the process because they had to fight for their independence. So they said, let us recognize them. And here we have this gentleman with the Polisario flag, because these camps are organized by the Polisario, okay, with the help of the UN Refugee Agency. Next. I did this one as sort of a brainstorming thing, because on the top level, there are several issues that could decide something, issues that have to be taken into account if and when there is an end to this process, because Western Sahara is at a stalemate, as I'm sure you have concluded by now. It is a territory. The status is that of a territory, of a colony. Spain was the colonial power. Now it's Morocco, but illegally. So if you go to the map, upper right-hand side, that represents security. Why? Because, by the way, the borders were drawn by international treaties in the 19th century, okay? This is not improvisation. You can see the very long border with Mauritania. And if you think about it, next to Mauritania is Mali, and Mali is next to Niger, and etc. Taliban, sorry, not the Taliban, I'm sorry. Al-Qaeda and others like it, okay? Security problems are big. Now we were very exposed there. I'm speaking as a MINURSO staff member, which I'm not. We were very exposed, but the Polisario was in charge of our security, and nothing ever happened anyway. To the left, there is no such oil drill, as you can see up there, but this is just to say Morocco, very few resources, looked for oil for years, rather desperately, I think, in Western Sahara. It didn't really find anything. Below that, this road sign, Fos Boukra, that is how they exploit the phosphates of Western Sahara. There's a big mine there. Spain started to mine it. Then Morocco and Spain, by the way, continued to mine it. Even though Spain had left, they continued to mine it. Very profitable thing to do. Now Morocco is alone and it exports everything it can. It's a huge resource that, by the way, belongs to the people of Western Sahara and not to Morocco. And below that, you won't see exactly what it is, but near where the beautiful bay was with the dunes, the white dune, etc., Morocco is actually growing crops there using water from non-renewable resources. They are for their own profit. A diplomat, in fact, in a private conversation, okay, this was not as UN staff, in a private conversation, a diplomat said, you know what we call these crops? Because they export them later as, crops from Morocco. That's not true, that's Western Sahara. We call them les tomates du roi, the king's tomatoes. That's a good laugh. Okay, upper left hand, the two military forces. On the one hand, the king there, the Force Armée Royale, the Moroccan armed forces. On the other hand, Polisario's fighters. Not a proper army, though they are well trained and well led. Okay? Now, on both sides, you will see Brahim Ghali, the head of Polisario, and again, the king of Morocco, just happens to be his military function. And each one with their own maps. Polisario only wants Western Sahara. Morocco wants, obviously, all of it to become a big country and a rich country. Mind you, Morocco is both rich and poor. I can say that. I've seen it. Literacy is only about 60%, if less. Algeria is about the same, but a little bit higher. 60%, excuse me, 40% illiterate. But the king has 20-odd palaces and royal residences. And for those of you who know the magazine Forbes, they made a list quite some time ago, the richest monarchs in the world. Who's richest? I can say the first one's Thailand. The king of Morocco in this poor country was number 7. Just to let you know, the Queen Elizabeth of the United Kingdom was way behind him. He was number 7. Of all the kings of the world, number 7 as in riches. Okay, next. So that's it. My main point is this is a people who could have done the whole transition, peaceful transition, according to international law. Went beautiful until Morocco decided it belongs to us and invaded. And it is still there, and it does not want the rest of the world to know about it. Why? Because they can't defend their actions. And why do they want to keep it? Because of their greed. And they use every dishonest method they can possibly find. I can say this, I was there for well over 10 years. I saw what I saw. I've even been back as a visitor to see my friends in refugee camps. And I can say that Morocco here is the obstacle to the process of the peaceful process of decolonization of a land, of a people. And the land is the size of New Zealand. That is huge. So again, thank you very much. That's what I wanted to say, and I hope I haven't taken up too much of your time. I hope you would have interrupted me if I had if you had any questions. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Carmen. And I was really appreciate this wonderful presentation because you give a picture also to the story, and your presentation was very open-minded to a lot of folks who doesn't know about Western Sahara and why Western Sahara is still called African last colony, and what is at stake right now, and why is the Moroccan are still there, and so forth.
Can I just jump in here? The last colony in Africa. Yes, it's absolutely true. It was a Spanish colony, and it's a colony, if you like, of Morocco, except that it's illegal. Illegal. Spanish was, okay, colonial occupier, and it agreed to go through decolonization, whereas Morocco invaded. They're the de facto administrators, which means illegal. They can't justify that. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay, that's fine. So as I said, yes, Western Sahara is still the last, let me see, the last country that's still colonized in Africa. And it's colonized by Morocco because Morocco invaded Western Sahara. And if I may add to your presentation, Morocco tried to legitimize the Madrid Agreement in 1970 and tried within even the United Nations, and as we know before that, the Secretary of State of the United of America, at that time, he was hoping that the vote will be rigged in the United Nations so they could recognize, but no. Let me just state something here right now, and for those of you who are not in tune of the situation in Western Sahara, the war is resumed again. There is no more a ceasefire that was signed in 1991. As we speak right now, there is a war started when the Moroccan breached the Gargaret and violate the military agreement with the Polisario, and since then the war has started. From our part, we as the Sahrawi, we declare that we have some martyred and some of our brave military had died in this war. Morocco, as of now, denied any casualty, whether they are like a human casualty or any casualty. And even the United Nations still, as of now, does not take it seriously. Let me also say right now, say we from here, we extend our solidarity and our full commitment to the national and the international campaign for lifting the siege of Sultana Khaya's house. Because Sultana Khaya, as a Sahrawi prominent activist, she's under siege right now, her house, and they are cut off the electricity, and they are in dire condition of support from the international community. Not only her, but also we have some Sahrawi political prisoners in hunger strike for extended period of time, and we extend our solidarity to all the Sahrawi political prisoners, especially the Gdemizik prisoners and the students who are in Marrakesh and everywhere in Morocco and also in the occupied Laayoune, Western Sahara. So we have a few questions, if you don't mind asking those questions, please. So the first question is, as a former MINURSO staff, how would you evaluate the work of MINURSO in Western Sahara for the last decade? Can the Sahrawi expect anything good out of the United Nations vis-a-vis to Western Sahara? And we all know that there are so many, I'm sorry, I have to put all these questions at the same time, so if you could have, there are many claims about and rumor about corruption inside the MINURSO. Can you comment on that, please? Number 4, to what extent?
Oh, please, not that many. I can answer those 3.
Yeah, no
can you please tell the technician to put me on the screen, because I cannot, you know, you click gallery or participants, and
yeah, we can see you. We can see you.
You can, but if there's anybody join you, I am not. I am here. I'm a participant. I only see you. I'm sorry. I am speaking. You should get me on the screen somewhere, or at least focus on me when I'm speaking. Okay. Anyway, hopefully you can do that. But let me answer the questions. I am not answering this, by the way, as an ex-UN staff, but I can, of course, answer the questions. MINURSO was unable to do the referendum. Now let's go back a bit. The UN can only install peacekeeping operations if both parties agree. In this case, Morocco and the Frente Polisario. Okay. However, in this case, even though Morocco agreed, as I said, agreed to, you remember that agreement brokered by the UN and the OAU, now the African Union? They agreed to the ceasefire and to the referendum. Okay. However, the ceasefire was very difficult to maintain, but MINURSO did do that. But the referendum, they blocked it for years. And finally they said, we don't want a referendum. Implying, quite frankly, I mean, let's be blunt here. We want a referendum that we can win. Okay? And there you go. So MINURSO cannot go against that. Now there's at least one more thing I have to say. MINURSO was created so long ago in 1990. Yeah. I don't trust my memory for figures, but it's an old mission. Well, why do I cite that? Because at the time there were other older missions. None of them had a human rights mandate. It wasn't done. And in the name of the mission says, we're supposed to organize a referendum. They don't say, peacekeeping, of course. They don't say we're going to do this or that. It's only the referendum. Now, you didn't say it, but often observers, the international community, they see what's going on in Western Sahara. They see the continuous human rights violations by the police, by the state of the Kingdom of Morocco. And they say, why doesn't MINURSO protect them? I will say just one thing. The UN peacekeepers are of two kinds, the blue helmets, fully armed, and the blue berets. You know the French hat? Blue. The blue berets are the ones in MINURSO. The blue berets are unarmed. Okay? It's not like they're military, absolutely, from their countries. It's not like they come to MINURSO and leave their weapons at the door. No, they come without weapons. I was saying before, you know, the security situation with Mali around there, we were very, very vulnerable because of that. We have no weapons. I'm speaking as MINURSO. Our military has no weapons. We depended on Polisario, and I'm sure it did a good job. MINURSO was never attacked by any rebel group beyond its borders. But our military observers, our peacekeepers, completely vulnerable, absolutely no weapons whatsoever. So this is a reason why it failed. I mean, now let me mention those special envoys, because I'm sure you're about to mention that. Why does it need an envoy? Well, a peacekeeping mission, no, let's talk about MINURSO, the peacekeeping mission for Western Sahara. If the Secretary General of the UN appoints an envoy, it's because the problem has not been able, the head of the mission has not been able to solve the problem. So the envoy is a rank above and reports directly to the Secretary General. It's all it means. But it is a person there specifically to get the political process going, the diplomatic process. They've had several mainly because they just can't do it because Morocco says no, 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 no. The last gentleman left for health reasons. Frankly, I'm not too sure. He wasn't pressured into leaving. You're certain, I think? I'm certain. But there you are. There you are. But that's why there's a special envoy, and the UN wants another special envoy because the process will continue. I mean, the Security Council dealt with the mission. The Security Council creates all peacekeeping operations, gives them the mandate, ends them when they should. So they decide these things. And the process is still there. And I would like to remind people of something. Western Sahara has been in a stalemate all these years, right? Many, many, many things have happened behind the curtains, you might say. But basically, seen from outside, nothing has happened. But the UN keeps on renewing it. Okay, budget, including everything. So I suspect something will happen. Otherwise, they would have said, we can't help. Let's stop. They haven't. So that is reason for me. It's reason for hope.
So for the question that I would like to ask you here, for you, you think for right now we have like 3 personal envoy that they failed their mission: James Baker III, Christopher Ross, and then Koller, the former German president. What is it that the Morocco has as a power to put obstacles one after the other in front of all the 3 of them, that cannot let them to do their mission? And why does the Security Council, especially the Security Council, allow this to happen over and over again? Especially when we are right now, the United Nations could not appoint any envoy, special envoy, because the Morocco blocked them, and he wants like a clear someone who would literally would defend the Moroccan position into the United Nations. So what is it from your sources, from your contact, from your experience with the MINURSO, what is it here that could give us at least an explanation to this?
Well, your first question is why isn't the process moving, right? It's not Morocco that has the power. The only advantage Morocco has vis-a-vis other countries is simply the location. You know, it's on the doors of the Mediterranean, on the doors of Western Europe. That's it. It's like an apartment building, like real estate. It's location, location, location. It, as I said, doesn't have power, but it is backed by big powers. Yes, that is the reason. The Security Council, as I said, they create missions, but again, I haven't said this before. What is the UN? It is an intergovernmental organization, meaning all its members are member states. So, I mean, that's it. The Security Council decides what its members decides. It's not the UN deciding anything. The UN is a forum. And if it were closed tomorrow, you'd have to recreate it, because what other forum is there? Well, General Assembly, all of them are represented, or the Security Council, which was formed to preserve international peace and security. Now, the envoy. The envoy, what can I say about the envoy? By the way, it's not UN staff. This has to be voluntary. And they don't get salaries either, by the way. Expenses paid, nicely. They don't get a salary. So they have to volunteer. And, I mean, James Baker, you know, head of a great US diplomat. Christopher Ross, my goodness, a star diplomat, right? The ex-president of Germany. Yes, they are all solid, you know, personalities, prestigious personalities. And the parties did not object. One objects and that's it. But there you are. They could not go against the will of one state here, which is Morocco. If, of course, the big powers behind Morocco did not support it. It's a power struggle. That is it. And as I said, this is what is awful about it. Western Sahara was supposed to follow the whole peaceful process of decolonization. You know, they would no longer be a colony, and they would become an independent state. And what stopped it? Moroccan greed. That's it.
My last question to you before maybe we have some attendees who may ask the question. In April, we always waiting for the mandate of the MINURSO to be again extended for 1 year. Bearing in mind the last proclamation of the former President Donald Trump recognizing the Moroccan sovereignty of Western Sahara, and also bearing in mind that the United States is the paying holder for all the agreements that's been written in this issue. What do you think?
Hold on. Why? Let me see. If you want me to, I would address the first question first, meaning what is this quid pro quo thing? the US recognizing, no, I'm sorry. The US recognizes because it wants to. That does not change anything of the status of Western Sahara. And as we have seen, the Security Council remains with the question on their agenda, first of all. Second, what was the second question? No, it was actually the last question. Why does the United States take the lead when writing the next resolution that extends the MINURSO mandate? Well, I don't know where the mechanism started, but for each peacekeeping operations, definitely, yes. Say the one in Haiti, there is what's called a group of friends. They're not friends, they're member states that take charge, okay? Because of their interest, because they're involved, whatever. And the one for Western Sahara involves a group of countries, including Spain, of course. But the lead one there is the United States. So they get to write the resolutions, but they have to be approved. So that is the reason. It's technical, if you like. And by the way, a very important point, this is Africa, right? Northern Africa, but Africa. And what the African delegates, African states say, why is not a single African country represented there? So I think there was a question in the middle there. I'm not sure which one it was.
Well, just like right now, we are like within days right now, the Security Council will again extend the mandate of MINURSO for another year. What do we expect like new from United, or is there any base, because there is something new, which is the proclamation of the Donald Trump decision. Even though right now Joe Biden and his administration, they still didn't budge yay or nay about the situation. They keep it vague by saying they are with the United Nations resolution and so forth. But for us as Sahrawi, this renewal of the mandate of MINURSO, it's just becoming just a simple routine, or just simple routine, or do you think we could expect something different this year?
That I don't know, but there are like two parts of the question. One, what we can expect from the UN, MINURSO, right? And on the other hand, the previous American government and their recognition of Moroccan sovereignty. Moroccan sovereignty does not exist, okay? It's false. But let's tackle the UN first. MINURSO was unable to organize a referendum. It was blocked again by Morocco. What can I say there? When the Security Council renews the mandate, this is not automatic, this is not routine, it has a budget. It could save themselves quite a bit of money saying MINURSO has failed, let's get out of here. It would be very convenient. It would be, hey, a good idea from the financial point of view, yes. But it is not routine, and I have actually the opposite opinion. By keeping it on the agenda, it means that the UN, unless it comes up with a very good reason, which does not exist, they will keep their interest in the matter. Okay, for me, that's positive. You mentioned corruption. Corruption in Morocco is rampant. So when you're dealing with a corrupt state, that will, you can't avoid it seeping through everything, really, not Polisario. And by the way, Morocco has insisted they are terrorists. You will not find a Sahrawi in any terrorist operation. Will you find Moroccans? Absolutely. Absolutely. Will you find drugs going from Morocco to Western Europe? Absolutely, yes. Why are they keeping this whole thing secret? Because this is what would really become known. They cannot defend their actions in Western Sahara. No way. They're trying to, but they can't. They cannot. And they're also trying to keep secret what is going on when, right now, you mentioned hostilities have resumed because Frente Polisario finally said, okay, UN process, we're not going with that. We are breaking the ceasefire. And what's happened again? Morocco is keeping it secret. Nothing's happening here. We were recognized by the US, and here we are. Another lie, falsehoods, absolute falsehood. Why am I helping? I am a New Yorker, I'm an American, Chilean family. You saw that on my little CV. What is my interest? Well, 10 years, I met the people of Western Sahara, both sides, Morocco occupied side, the Frente Polisario side, and the refugee camps. Why am I trying to help you guys? Because the people of Western Sahara deserve better.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I thank all of you who attend this webinar with us. As I said, it was really a great presentation and you were very kind. And thank you for your patience. Thank you for your time. And we would love to have you another time, maybe next time with a better, and we have a better in Zoom or other tools for this webinar.
I'm more than happy to. I am more than happy to. As I said, I actually organized a small visit for a university in the Autonomous University of Barcelona just 2 years ago. They wanted to see what it was like. There's no way they could get into Layun, but I organized a visit to the refugee camps with Polisario. And it was great for me because I went with them and I saw the friends, the Sahrawi friends I'd left over there. So that was great. But yes, absolutely, I will continue to help any way I can. Thank you for having me.
Thank you again very much. And thank you all for coming. And we'll see you for the next webinar. It will be either sent to our mailing list or published to our website, www.sahrawiusa.org. And I thank you very much. And for all those of you who was in Ramadan, happy iftar. And thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.